Today we're going to do 10 ways to make meetings better. Everybody has meetings, everybody has to go to them. They're not all that great sometimes. So here are 10, some of them I'm going to just roll up into practical advice, but others I'm going to throw out some new ones. So, sorry about that. Obviously, there's the usual be on time, start when everybody's there, that type of thing. But I'm of the mind of, unless that person that's missing is absolutely critical, just start. I mean, if they are late, then they are late. It's not something that, you should hold off 10 people, waste 10 people's time for the one person who isn't there because they chose to do something else. That's their decision, that's fine, right? Unless it's absolutely necessary that that person is there at that meeting. I'm going to do number 2. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. So, work is getting more and more remote. People are not meeting in person as much. I always try to have in-person meetings if possible. It's always a better trade-off. We'll keep that as number 2, actually. Number 3 is this is a tech that I want to build. It's essentially like a VR meeting room where like an avatar of somebody's body will show up in the meeting room, and you'll have like a VR headset, and so it'll be like an in-person meeting, except it's virtual reality. Number 4 and also attached to number 3, there'd be like a robot or a bot that takes meeting notes. You don't have to give that to the lowest person on the totem pole or the highest person on the totem pole to keep people accountable. So I really like that idea as well. Number 4 is some people need this. It would be like a buzzer when people start going off on their own tangent. Sometimes at the beginning or halfway through or at the end of the meeting, people start saying, "Oh, well, that's your kids wouldn't say that," and it just goes on this weird tangent. And you're like, "What are we? Why are we even here?" So, it's just a buzzer that's like get back on track type of thing. Number 5 is there really needs to be an easier way for everyone to discuss the same thing. It's like, there's ways for people to see each other's screens, etc., but it's not, you want to be able to physically touch it, to move things around, to influence in a way where we don't have that developed. So that's how I would do that. Number 5 is, I do think that all meetings should be recorded. I think people that are maybe optional to be there can get a recording of the meeting and then decide to give feedback on what was said. I think that's there's an after meeting discussion essentially, unless it's like a brainstorming session, which everybody should show up, right? But because I've done this where there was a meeting that I really didn't need to be there for, but I was invited to, so I watched a recording of the video, and I was able to watch it in ×2 speed. So I was able to slow that down for parts that were really important to me, necessary for me, and the parts that were not, I was able to skip forward or, understand, but just without all the pauses and things like that. Number 6 You know, I don't think people should just have to sit all the time. Actually, no. You know, I'm gonna go a different direction. We'll get back to that sitting standing piece of it. But what really gets me is people that are they're there physically, but they're definitely not there mentally. They are working on another project or something that's completely unrelated, but they're sitting there, right? And then you ask them a question, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention." That should never be an answer. Like, what are you doing there? So, I think there should be at the least a rule of, hey, don't show up if you're not going to show up. So that's number 5. Number 6 is definitely it's like, gosh, I almost want to go back to how people teach kindergartners, right? Like, kindergartners don't just sit in desks and stare at you, right? They're moving, they're learning on the move, and there's actually a lot to that if you look at just how people learn in general. Um, the obedient sit in a chair and listen to me type of thing does not work in every situation, and we've adopted that in large part for meetings, unless you live in California or something and they say they have their surfing meetings and things like that, which probably works better, honestly. So unless you need a projector or something like that. But anyway, some type of way to get people to move around is a good thing. Or everybody has their own whiteboard and they start drawing out what they think, and then you regroup or whatever it is, right? But get more activity in there. Don't just have it be one person talking and everybody's sitting. Number 7 is this is a laziness thing. Something where you don't have to move at all. There's just a machine that fills your water bottle with water. It's a good thing to have. People don't want to get up, or people get up and it distracts people. But number 8 is I'll do a. You know what? This just popped in my head. Terrible idea though. Get rid of crinkly foods. What I mean by that is, everybody knows that person who brings a bag of chips or something, and you just hear this like the whole meeting, and people can't focus. I'm able to focus, but usually you can tell people are not happy. Just get rid of it. Number 9 is this is actually a rule that my old boss had, which I think is a decent rule, which is if the meeting can be an email chain or decided over a message instead of a half-hour meeting, then make it an email chain or a message. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be people in the room to get it done. People just need to prioritize that work, which is difficult at times, but still doesn't need to happen. Number 10 is this is one I like too. Make meetings weird amounts of time. What I mean by that is actually think about how much time it'll take to complete the work that needs to be done. If it's 22 minutes, make the meeting 22 minutes. We assign these arbitrary, it has to take a half hour, or we think it might take an hour, so we're booking an hour. But if you think it might take 47 minutes, book 47 minutes. I guarantee you will get more work done because people often get that work done as the deadline approaches. And so if you needed an hour, perhaps you have the room, perhaps you don't. But maybe you end in 47 minutes and you get 13 minutes back on every single meeting throughout the day. That's a lot of time that adds up. Maybe you don't care about having that time back, but some people do. So that's number 10.